All right, we are back. So right now we know that KSI is fighting Dylan Danny Boy here. And he went on Air Hawani and talked about how there were some other opponents that backed out or fell through.
How do we end up with Dylan Dennis?
Well,
what were the steps?
We've reached out to so many other fighters. I've done a YouTube video on this, but I reached out to, my team reached out to Nate Diaz. He said no, so we went to Masvidal. He couldn't do it because of his UFC contract. Went to Donald Cerrone. He said no. Went to Tony Ferguson. He said no. So we're scrambling. Like, all right, what are we gonna do? Like, we need to try and find an opponent. We've got a date, March 29th, set.
So we decided today we're just going to go through some highlights of each opponent and figure out, are any of these opponents realistic for KSI? Are they legitimate? Do they pose any problems for JJ if he were to fight him in the future? Or are some of them just ridiculous and they don't stand a chance? Okay, but let's go over the X and O's and let's break it down. No pun intended, which we'll be back soon. Okay. First up, we got Jorge George, however you want to pronounce it, Masvidal. Was once a street fighter turned professional, legitimate, world-class fighter. Okay, right? Sneaky fighter. But let's look at the clip here. Who we got? MMA punches. Fighters you're gonna see a lot of arm punching, feet not setting. A common theme here. Feet not set, constantly moving. Because you need to rely on movement in MMA. You can't stay still. The angles can create a problem. Now, as you can see, our man Lorenzo Larkin right here, which I believe that's him, is about to throw a kick. So the other thing you aren't going to see is a lot of head movement. Okay, because if you move your head off center, off line, a jab may come through, then the kick's coming right behind it. So defense, you're not going to see great boxing defense. Doesn't mean they can't do it, but let's see some of the tendencies here. Boom, right? You got to lean out of the way of the kick. Here's him against Darren Till. But Masvidal, the thing is, excellent head movement, right? Again, I just said a lot of guys don't have a lot of good head movement in MMA. But look at here. He was someone who was a street fighter. I forget what it was called, but it was hands only. So they were just boxing. But you see the head movement. Boom. Good returns, good angles. Got caught there a little bit. But nice little counter right hand. Masvidal, out of this entire group, I think it poses the most problems because just the counter ability, right? Just hands, period. Counter striking with his hands and good balance and base with his feet. A little bit more of a boxing style. Likes to throw with his hands. See here, a lot of head movement. Using that evasion, returning, but available. That's the thing right there. But again, if you look, boom, I think he was off of a kick here. Bam, off of a kick, got caught, smacked, right? MMA fighters don't typically have a great foundation for boxing when it comes to their defense because there's too much to worry about. Doesn't mean they can't transfer it over well. Look at that. That was slick. See, that is what poses a problem for JJ because that wild style blitzing in, when you blitz, that karate stance, when you're blitzing in, you are extremely vulnerable. You're trying to score. Listen, in karate, in point style karate, we talk about karate style. Let's just talk about this for a second here, okay? In point karate, okay? Point karate, you get this hands down style because you're trying to close the gap and score the point. Now, after the point is scored, the match stops. Up, time, then we declare a point being scored. So you don't really care about defense. So you're kind of really betting that I better land this punch. If not, I better clinch after because it's going to be vulnerable. So with Masvidal's ability to lean back, get out of the way of punches, when if JJ misses, he's going to miss big. And it's going to leave opportunities like this for Masvidal to counter big time. Beautiful shot there. You see this stuff? No bueno. He's wearing wrestling gear, so I guess he's just working on his, his guard and his defense, but not the footwork you want to see because in that kind of position, you're talking about in boxing, you are throwing punches heavy. You're not throwing arm punches like in MMA, so you're not going to be standing there deflecting punches like nothing. You got to be in a good stance so you can withstand the power. Oh, him and Darren Till. Boom. Darren, we just saw him fight Anthony Taylor, and Darren's a guy who has transferred over well because of his style. Wide stance, a lot of movement, heavy backhand, so it works for him. But Masvidal, Guard up. Even here, in MMA, you see the high guard. You see the things that are going to transfer over well to boxing. Little short flowy combination. Look at the feints there. Good long guard. Looking for the overhand. Good footwork. Beautiful counter off the backhand. Again, JJ's a guy who likes the blitz. Straight shot, hands down. This is kind of a slightly lesser version, but look at Darren Till here. Blitzing in with a straight shot with his head up. Beautiful counter opportunity there for Masvidal. Good left hook off the break. Good slip. Again, head movement like that is not great for MMA, but it's worked in boxing. And there we see the little switch stance, the left hand. Switch to southpaw. See, this is another thing that's very unorthodox. MMA fighters do have this ability at times to switch stances because with grappling and wrestling and kicking, it's common for you to end up in your opposite stance. It's very normal. Where in boxing, you're pretty much staying in that stance majority of the time. But here he does this, sets it up, and throws the overhand over the top. Catches him lacking. Now we got, Jorge against Nate Diaz. Now, Nate Diaz is a guy fought Jake Paul. The problem with Nate Diaz, this guy is a high-level jiu-jitsu master. So, obviously, we know he can punch and he can box, but he knows that he can't get taken down. So, in MMA, he'll stand there, high guard, just rely on his cardio and his conditioning to wear you out, and just try to rely on volume, not power shots. Volume to tire you out just so he can drown you. The problem is in boxing, you're going to be throwing heavy punches. And we saw this with Jake Paul, where, Jake was throwing real punches and Nate's just trying to high guard it, not working. But the problem with Nate is some of those punches there, but a lot of them slappy, a lot of them arm punches, not good, because you might throw 4, 5, 6, 7 of those and land them against the guard, especially with boxing gloves. Those arm punches aren't as effective because you got the big glove and the big guard. It's hard to fit those shots in, where in MMA you can slap those knuckles in there. Him and his brother have had a lot of success with that, but it doesn't transfer over well to boxing unless you have very good defense. But as we know, Nate Diaz is a guy who's very available and doesn't care about getting hit, but it doesn't work in boxing so well. So this would be, I think, a tough matchup for Nate as well, because he's not able to put anything on him unless he can just be defensive enough. But see how he's walking in there with his guard, slapping shots, bam, bam, bam. You see he wears those shots. Masvidal, and this is a great showing for Masvidal here. Another reason why he would be a very tough matchup for KSI. So look again here. Nate is obviously has the ability to take these punches, but sloppy, but bam, bam, throwing the punches. But you can see he wore that hard combination from Masvidal. Even though Nate just threw like 8 punches, some of them get through, some of them don't. Still not good for him. Hard body shot there from Masvidal. But you can see, Masvidal looks comfortable there. Look at him slipping, falling out of the way. Good defense. Good hard look at that hard return left hook. Nate just threw like 8 punches, caught him there, but then boxing style power punches return from Masvidal. Makes a big difference. Oh, again, so you can see the difference there. Sitting down on that shot, that overhand. Yeah, Masvidal, beautiful combination. Again, one of the guys from MMA that would be tough for both Jake and KSI. Now, obviously, we know what happened here. Nate and Jake, again. And I'm not sure that Nate's going to take it serious enough. Not a great matchup for Nate Diaz. Just too much arm punching. Not enough power, I think, to gain respect from Jake or KSI. It's like, see these shots right here? Jake is putting everything behind it, and that's what I expect from JJ. KSI is going to throw exactly like that in terms of bad intentions and power, and Nate will get out of the way of most of them, but he's going to be available for some of them. He always gets hit. But see how he's sitting there, this arm punching stuff and just kind of slapping. Yeah, it's annoying, but then look, Jake just sits down on the left hook, cracks him. And yeah, he's still there, but you can only do that so much. And again, with MMA gloves, you can catch him right in the button. Nate can do all that, and then like he did with Leon Edwards, boom, right in the button, and then he drops him. But with boxing gloves, trying to get through the guard, it's not going to be as effective. So I think, again, Nate Diaz gets knocked out. Now Cowboys, maybe that tells you my opinion right there. Cowboys are running. Maybe in his heyday, but again, this is a 55er. Nate Diaz, 55er, sometimes 70. Cerrone, sometimes 70. Nate Diaz, sometimes 70, but again, these are all guys at their best, 55. Cerrone was a good striker in his day, but again, a kickboxer. Most of the highlights that we're going to see, his combinations had a lot of kicks in there. So he can get away with, the high open guard, the crossing of the feet, because he's setting up his kicks in his knees and his elbow, because he did a lot of Thai fighting, as you can see here. So, perfect example right there. Nasty shin to chin right there. But look, again, that gentleman right there, leaning his head offline, boom, you can get kicked, right? So you can get away with some things there in boxing that you can't with MMA. Look, he kicks, goes to slip offline, boom, runs into a kick. So Cerrone, what I'm saying is that Cerrone stands very tall because he doesn't want to move his head side to side because he has to worry about the kicks. Whereas he knows he can kick back, so he doesn't need to move his head as much to avoid punches because the angles coming at him are not that crazy because people are not moving their head offline. That's one of the biggest challenges that with Thai fighters or kickboxers or just MMA fighters when dealing with the boxer is the angles of the punches and that they come from, because you're not used to it because no one's moving their head that much, because if they do, you just kick him in the face. Okay? In this case, you can't kick him in the face. And again, a lot of Cerrone's highlights, punches, beautiful jab landed here. Good check punches, but it's still, as you can see, it's still arm punches. You're gonna see a lot of arm punching, a lot of standing up very tall. Again, this is all knees, it's not gonna elbows here. Good short combination, right? But this is when I don't even know how many years ago this was. I don't want to see him now, even though I think he's on the GH, so maybe he's a little bit, you know what I mean? Young man again, you know what I mean? But see that right there. This, you can get away with it. Why can you get away with it? Because this guy right here, okay? At this point, before he goes to do this right here, he doesn't know. Is he going to kick me in the head? Is he going to flying knee me? Is he going to throw an elbow from across? Or is he going to take me down? So he doesn't know. He can't just sit down and throw a punch. I mean, you can, but you're worried about a lot of things. In boxing, if Donald is sprinting over like he's running a race or trying to steal something from this guy, like take his wallet or something, you're getting knocked out. So this is the type of stuff, literally running across. Now, he probably had him hurt here, but still. Even if you tag somebody in boxing and you start doing this, oh no. And this is a young Donald. JJ knocks him out. Look at that. Oh, terrible. I mean, beautiful MMA fight. Look at the striking. Look at some good combinations there, and you see those. But see, again, it looks nice. But these are all arm punches. See the chin way up, feet crossing. Again, can get away with it with MMA gloves. None of this stuff is going to transfer over. Now we're just running across, throwing punches. Again, very effective in MMA, not so much in boxing. Terrible matchup. Now we got Tony Ferguson. So far we got Masvidal, tough matchup for KSI. Nate Diaz, I think, gets knocked out. Donald Cerrone, I think, gets knocked out. And then we got Tony Ferguson. Now, I'm assuming the clips that Brennan got here are all young Tony Ferguson. I don't even know what he's like now, but we know he's a shell of himself. So I think this one, when we heard this name, was like, Tony Ferguson? No, not El Gui, dude. What are we doing? This man's been getting dropped left and right. Okay. Now Tony has had some pretty good striking, known to have a pretty good jab, right? Snappy, but very awkward, but also very, very thin. This guy's a 55er, and it feels like he eats everything he can to be a 55er. Not a very big guy, so that just not very good here. But Tony has, again, very awkward stance, but you're gonna see a lot of this overextending. That's a good combo. Very young, Tony. Look at that hard shot, beautiful shot there, but squared up. And again, against a guy who's not a boxer. You have to understand, a lot of these guys in MMA, when these guys do this and they do these things, it's not necessarily against a striker or somebody who's skilled with their hands, okay, or boxing ability, head movement, and defense. Again, like, this is the kind of stuff it's not gonna transfer over well. They're gonna get in there, and then after, for a little bit, or even training, just purely boxing, they're gonna have a lot of trouble, a lot of overextending, a lot of bad missing. Like, we're talking getting completely square, and we see like hard punches landing, but again, We've seen a lot of. Excuse me, sir. What's going on here? Oh, lordy lord. Tony. Followed up by the body shot. See, but you can spin and stuff, so he does it, but he knows he can throw a spinning elbow. Good body shot, good hard combination there, right? Again, no one had a jab, but again, when you have been fighting this way and striking and thinking about striking this way for so long, and now you don't have those shots, those angles, everything is illegal now. Now you just have to use these two things, and you got mittens on instead of these little gloves. It's not easy unless you got a background in it. And Tony's definitely not that kind of guy. See, running across the cage against a guy, another good striker. But Tony, another guy dangerous on the ground. People worried about the takedown, worried about the wrestling, worried about the grappling. All not great stuff. Again, we got an MMA fighter here. If you wanted to box, look at it. Straight up and down. Feet right next to each other. Right? Loading up on our shots. Again, he's piecing them up. But it works because you can slice the elbows and throw the knees and do stuff from weird angles. Look at that. We got two of the opponents fighting each other. And they're throwing punches. And they're running into punches. See, this would not be great. Now, these guys, at this point, a little bit older. So more similar to what they are now, but still not even what they are today. Again, a lot of arm punches. No real defense here. And these guys are lighter. Oh no, crossing their feet. I mean, that's the thing. Whenever we watch MMA fighters, I understand why boxers will look at this and go, these guys can't, it's because they do so much punching. Because you're trying to find something, but you're just constantly getting. They don't understand that both of these guys can, if they're versing like a boxer, they just a single leg, double leg, boom, it's over. But they know that these guys their grappling can cancel out. The kicking can kind of cancel out. So what we get is a boxing match against two non-boxers. And then we think, hey, they have some knockouts and stuff, and they were high-level fighters. Maybe KSI can fight them. Oh, Lord. See, something like this right here? Where's that body shot again? That's right there. We're not doing that. This looks more like a bar fight than it does like a skilled striking match. And again, the hard part about it is like, why do they look so sharp? The thing is, when you're punching with the intention to also kick, right? When you have the intention to kick, your stance is different. And then look here. Not great defense. All offense. Okay, so he knocks out Tony Ferguson as well. Okay, I think that's why these guys turn down the fights, because they know it's a bad idea. But Masvidal is the one. Now, we heard that Masvidal, we responded back. You can roll the tweet. I don't know what he said, but it said something along the lines of, hey, this is not true. He's capping, right? Because JJ did say that Masvidal turned it down because of his contract with the UFC. Don't know. But I feel like Masvidal is a one. He would take that, because I feel like it would be super dangerous for KSI. That would not be an easy fight. If I'm trying to think, besides Tommy Fury, it's the next toughest opponent. I think Tommy Fury, obviously, is still the toughest guy he's fought. And then it would be Masvidal second if he had that. And then if I want to compare him to his other opponents, like current Tony Ferguson, like Fournier, I think is better. Again, I haven't seen these guys. You're talking about current. And Cerrone, I think Logan poses a tougher, than Tony, just because of the size factor. These guys are 55ers, small guys in comparison to where JJ is now. So I don't think any legitimacy in terms of, I think none of those would go well, and these are guys that they were looking for KSI. So I don't knock them, but now that we've seen that, okay, I give only a decent grade to Masvidal, and then Nate Diaz. I get why KSI said he wants to fight him to show that he can beat him better than Jake, but we didn't know what we're gonna get from Nate, and now that we know what we're gonna get, it's kind of like we don't want to see that again, because he wasn't what we thought he was gonna be, for some people. But I do not want to see Cerrone or Ferguson or Nate Diaz. So none of that. But Masvidal, sign me up. Let me know what you think in the comments. And hope to do these videos more often, where we can break down the X's and O's and talk about these guys' striking abilities, their punching abilities, especially if we have these new faces, maybe potential, the guys who haven't boxed before, maybe one boxing match. If there's another breakdown you want me to do, compare. I'm thinking of doing a video of comparing current KSI to old KSI, which one's better, and kind of break down stylistically the differences. But let me know what you think, and we'll be back soon. Oos.